Today. Let's get you straight to Parktown, Johannesburg. The State Capture Commission has heard that Regiment's Capital proposed that the Reserve Bank should take on Transnet's debt risk. Now, former Transnet Group Treasurer Mathane Makgatho testified that a decision like that would have negatively impacted on local currency. Let's get more on the story. Let me bring in the SABC's Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who's covering the story for us in Parktown, Johannesburg. Mbalenhle, thank you very much indeed for your time. So the former Transnet Group Treasurer has stated having reservations about Regiment Capital after receiving a few unsolicited proposals from the Gupta-linked consultancy. Tell us more.
Good morning, Blaine. Yes, we did hear the former group treasurer talking about, how she was rather at pains and the kind of strained relationship that existed between herself and Anoj Singh as a result of these unsolicited proposals that were brought in by Regiment's Capital. Now, the first one was a transaction advisory services. The first proposal, that is, was for transaction advisory services in the 1064 locomotives acquisition. And she explained to the commission that she went to then our group chief financial officer, Anoj Singh, and explained to him that, she didn't understand why Transnet needed these services because her department could do the work. And we've heard at length about how her department was sidelined in many of these transactions, and she basically confirms these testimonies that her department was sidelined. The second proposal was for a loan agreement. She said she got a phone call from Nedbank, with someone from Standard Bank, rather, not Nedbank, someone asking her if Transnet was looking for money. And she said this came as a surprise to her because her department would have been the one to approach banks to request for loans in the event that they needed any finances. And she then later saw a proposal made it to her office, and the proposal was for a 5 million rand loan. And she says that what stood out for her rather in this loan agreement was that Transnet was going to lose something to the value of 750 million rand. And she said she had spoken to Anoj Singh and advised him against taking this loan agreement. And when she didn't find joy with him, she went straight to Group CEO Brian Molefe and explained to him that, listen, 750 million rand will be stolen from our coffers. Are you going to approve this amount? And she said, I will not be part of this theft, this blatant theft. And if you do approve this agreement, it means that Transnet, you are complicit in the theft of 750 million rand, and jail time awaits you after approving this agreement. Now, that sounds rather brave for someone to have gone straight and actually informed them that, listen, you are going to be facing jail time after this, and I will not be part of this. But the one proposal that she says really shocked her, and she said it was a shocker of note, was the one where the Gupta-linked company had suggested that Transnet should get the Reserve Bank to take on the risk of a cross-currency swap. Now, we've heard about a cross-currency swap being done to hedge against the risks of rand fluctuations or currency fluctuations. And she said that the results were rather adverse for the country, in the sense that this could lead to higher inflation rate for South Africans, as well as shock GDP figures and the likes. And she said the risk would have been taken on by the Reserve Bank, and this went against our policies. Yeah. So that's what she said, and she said that, that was a shock, and she didn't understand why she needed to take the advice of these people, because it seemed as though they were not aware of how things were meant to be run.
How did the chairman of the commission react to these the so-called shocking revelations?
Well, he was also quite shocked about the pronouncements that were made by the Gupta-linked company, you know. And I think at the same time, you also get the sense that, you know, he was also impressed at her bravery in the sense that, you know, you hear him asking that, so you didn't mince your words when you went to speak to Brian Molefe regarding this proposal. And I mean, she went straight to Brian Molefe and she said, you know, Brian Molefe, she took Brian Molefe to be a brother, and that's why she would go straight to him. But it wasn't until later where she realized that, you know, Brian Molefe was not really a brother, and that maybe they were together, working together with Anoj Singh, and that, you know, Brian Molefe was, you know, a people's person and made people feel, was a smooth operator and a people's person and made people feel important, whereas Anoj Singh just, you know, would demand things to get done. So you get the sense that, you know, the judge does admire the former group treasurer for her bravery and having gone straight to Brian Molefe and not minced her words, and actually explained to him that, you know, jail time awaited him had he approved the loan agreement, which would have seen 750 million rand being stolen from Transnet's coffers.
So, Ms. Makgatho should wrap up her testimony today. The commission will then hear testimony from Mr. Shiwa Elijah Mazibuko from the South African Reserve Bank. And as we know, the Reserve Bank has been very much in the spotlight of late.
Yes, definitely. The Reserve Bank has been in the spotlight of late, you know, so it would be interesting to hear the testimony from there, especially after hearing about this proposal that was made with regards to the Reserve Bank taking on the risks. And, you know, we heard Makgatho explaining that, you know, if the Reserve Bank had gone ahead and taken on the risk of a cross-currency swap, it would have negatively impacted the Reserve Bank's foreign reserves. And obviously, these foreign reserves are very crucial in terms of, you know, managing the currency and just in terms of managing the currency and managing its stability in the market. So it's going to be interesting to hear what they have to say regarding, you know, Transnet and possibly Regiment's Capital, which is a company that has come up quite prominently with regards to, you know, getting tenders and doing work that was really not necessary at Transnet and getting paid large sums of money for the work. I mean, yesterday we heard Makgatho sounding rather shocked that an amount of 600 million rand had been paid to both Regiment's Capital as well as McKinsey in the space of something like 18 months. But she said this was a very short space of time. And she even said that, you know, she had invoices coming to her desk that were marked as urgent. And she said that, you know, policy stipulated that they had to pay all invoices within a matter of 30 days, but, you know, she just didn't understand the urgency around Regiment's Capital, and she also wasn't aware that they were actually doing work within Transnet and didn't understand why they were being paid. So, you know, there were a lot of these dodgy dealings that were happening, you know, at Transnet, and we're just going to hear more and more about them.
So in order to fit in these two witnesses today, a bit of an early start, 9:30, I understand?
Yes, definitely. We're starting in the next couple of minutes at 9:30. This is just in the interest of allowing Makgatho to complete her testimony before moving on to the next witness.
All right, we appreciate you reporting. SABC News Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who's live for us in Parktown, Johannesburg. Thank you once again.